I'd been dropped into a novel, cast as the villainous fiancé. The plot was simple. To get rid of me, the heroine, Serafina, had flown off to Europe to find her childhood sweetheart. My mission, according to the disembodied voice of the system in my head, was to make her kids despise me. My days were a caricature of evil stepfatherhood. I'd have the eldest, Jade, give me shoulder massages. The middle child, Dylan, would fetch me snacks. The youngest, Cody, had to read me bedtime stories. My grand plan was to loot the family fortune and be on a private jet to Miami 3 days before Serafina got back, ready to enjoy the view on South Beach. Then, she returned, catching me red-handed. She told me to leave everything behind and get lost. But as I stood on the marble steps, broke and defeated, my 3 little adversaries staged a coup. Jade planted herself in front of me, arms crossed. Dad, you go. I'll handle this. Dylan nodded, his face grim. We don't want our real dad. Jade, you hold her off. I'll go get the safe. Cody, the quiet one, piped up, Big sis and big bro are right. Do we still meet under the old oak tree? Serafina just stared at me, a muscle twitching in her jaw. Host, the system's voice had buzzed in my ear a few weeks ago. All you have to do is ensure the heroine and her children continue to despise you. Once she brings back the male lead and the children genuinely accept him, this story arc will be complete. Your reward upon completion: a return trip to your own world, or $10 million cash. I'd practically jumped for joy. A mission this easy? I'd read the whole trashy romance novel. I knew every twist. As for the original character's tragic end, please, I was a transmigrator. Breaking the script was my specialty. While she was off finding Mr. Right, I'd be packing her Prada bags with cash and heading for the coast. It was foolproof. The system had chimed in enthusiastically. I get you, host. We'll split it 50-50. I'd scoffed. 70-30. After a brief, spirited negotiation, we landed on 60-40. You're a real piece of work, host, it said, sounding impressed. Since you've got this in the bag, I'm going to take a nap. Wake me when we get to Miami. I gave it a mental thumbs up, already planning how my 40% was going to be the bigger 40. You got it. The system, to its credit, gave me one emergency assist token before it signed off. Now, lounging on a ridiculously expensive Roche Beaubois sofa in the palatial Beverly Hills mansion, I had intended to relax. Handling 3 spoiled brats? Child's play. The housekeeper, Maria, approached timidly. Mr. Vance, it's getting late. Time to pick up the children from school. They're in 3rd grade. I grunted, not opening my eyes. Let them walk. When I was a kid, I'd wander my neighborhood for hours and find my own way home for dinner. Maria, not daring to argue with the master of the house, retreated but kept a watchful eye. She later told me the 3 of them waited for half an hour. Then, after a brief huddle, they marched toward the mansion like a tiny, furious army, radiating pure murder. I finally peeled my eyes, open to find 3 pairs of homicidal glares fixed on me. Leo, why didn't you pick us up today? Jay demanded. Get on your knees and apologize, or we'll never forgive you. Dylan added. Big sis and big bro are right. Cody chirped. I frowned, looking them over. Each one was a special kind of disaster. Jade, a natural-born queen bee, was caked in makeup like she was heading to a middle school rave. Dylan, who had the athletic build of a quarterback, was dressed like a pretentious beat poet. And Cody, the one Serafina adopted, was a little echo, repeating whatever the other 2 said. A real trio of weirdos. Seeing my silence as surrender, their disdain grew. I shot to my feet. Maria, I said coolly, looking past them, bring me my 40-foot Indiana Jones bullwhip. The 3 kids flinched. Dylan and Cody looked to Jade, their leader, for guidance. Leo, you're just my mom's lapdog. Jade sneered, trying to regain her footing. You wouldn't dare touch me. I run my grade. I have people who... Before she could finish her threat, I snatched her, tossed her over my shoulder, and threw her onto the giant king-size bed in her room. Dylan and Cody froze, their jaws on the floor. Ignoring them, I decided to take down the ringleader first. I pulled off her glittery sock and started tickling the arch of her foot. You have to break the king, or in this case, the queen. It took less than 10 seconds for Jade to dissolve in a shrieking, gasping laughter. Okay, I give up. Thought so, I smirked. Don't mess with the boss. Go get me a bowl of warm water, I ordered, pointing at Jade. Then, to the housekeeper, Maria, you supervise. I recalled from a novel that Jade was destined to inherit her mother's corporate empire, becoming a ruthless CEO. But her childhood reign of terror earned her so many enemies that she was nearly crippled in a revenge plot years later. Right now, she was just the schoolyard queen bee everyone secretly wanted to be. She sulkily returned with a basin of water, her eyes boring into me as I dipped my feet in. You don't want to wash my feet? I asked, arching an eyebrow. A flash of joy crossed her face before she masked it, her lips pouting. She knew she couldn't refuse. Reluctantly, she reached her hands toward the water. You don't have to, I said smoothly. You could buy your way out of punishments. Her eyes widened. I know you get a hefty allowance. You pay your little crew $1,000 a pop just to hang around. I won't ask for much. $1,000 per punishment. Jade's mouth tightened. $1,000 was a big chunk of her weekly spending money. More importantly, she didn't want to fund the enemy. If she paid $1,000 today, I'd be asking for $10,000 tomorrow. If only she knew how right she was. This family was obscenely wealthy. Serafina wasn't just the CEO of a tech giant. She was a pop superstar. Our food was delivered from exclusive organic farms or flown in from Europe, prepared by a private Michelin-starred chef. Life was good. If I weren't the villain who needed to escape the main characters to survive, I'd stay here forever. The kids' allowances were insane. $10,000 a month. Each. Serafina wasn't stingy with me either, giving me a salary of $30,000 a month. But putting me on the same level as the children? It bruised my ego. So, I decided their pocket money was fair game. I only had 3 months left. Might as well maximize my earnings. Jade, you're off the hook for foot washing duty. Dylan can do it from now on. I leaned back. You'll be in charge of my shoulder massages. What? I just paid you $1,000, she protested, pulling her brothers behind her in a protective stance. A true queen bee. I had to admit, she reminded me of myself. You have a point, I conceded. All right, you're clear for today. Which brings us to Dylan's punishment. I seem to recall someone telling me to get on my knees and apologize. Before I could finish, Dylan's hand shot up. I'll pay. Same as Jade. $1,000 to skip the punishment. An unexpected bonus. My gaze shifted to the youngest, Cody. He looked at his siblings, then said readily, I'll pay $1,000 too. Just as I thought. Cody was the easy one. In a matter of minutes, I was $3,000 richer. I pocketed the cash with a grin. This was your choice, remember, I said, wagging a finger. No telling your mother. But inside, I was screaming, please, please go tell your mother. Get her to divorce me on the spot. Raising another man's kids was humiliating. Of course, if they wanted to keep throwing money at me, I wouldn't complain. As if on cue, right after dinner, the 3 of them huddled in their room and placed a video call to their mom. Their performance was a masterclass in dramatic sobbing. I was almost impressed. Mom, you have to do something about Leo. He almost beat me to death with a giant whip. Jade wailed. He won't feed us, Mom. We're starving. Dylan added, clutching his stomach. Big bro and big sis are right. If you don't come back soon, all our money will be. The other 2 lunged and clapped a hand over Cody's mouth. They knew Serafina hated their reckless spending and had threatened to cut their allowances more than once. All right, my darlings, you be good. Serafina's voice soothed through the speaker. I'll call and give him a warning. After the call, the 3 of them crept out of their room and pressed their ears to my door, waiting for the fireworks. Little did they know I had access to all the security camera feeds on my phone. I grinned. Time to put on a show. I'd play this just right and angle for some hazard pay. My phone rang, an international number. I let it ring twice before answering. Leo, Jade, and the boys just called me, saying you're abusing them. What the hell is going on? Her voice was ice, sharp and devoid of warmth. Fina, that's not true. I love them like they're my own. I wouldn't dream of hurting them, I said, my voice dripping with false sincerity. Serafina was nobody's fool. They wouldn't just make something like that up. I have proof, I said quickly. I texted her the photo I'd snapped of them when they'd marched home earlier. Jade in the middle, arms crossed, looking like a tiny mafia boss. Dylan and Cody flanking her, hands in their pockets, scowling like miniature bodyguards. They looked less like abused children and more like a junior high protection racket. The line went silent for a moment. Then, Serafina's voice came back, practically a roar. Leo, you teach those 3 a lesson. Don't kill them, but teach them. I'm wiring you $100,000 for your trouble. I casually switched the call to speakerphone, making sure it was loud enough for the little eavesdroppers outside. Serafina, they're just kids, I said, feigning reluctance. I'll go easy on them. Don't. A good thrashing is what they need. The sound of shuffling outside my door, followed by the frantic patter of feet, told me my message had been received. I watched them scramble back to their rooms on the security feed and laughed. Making accusations without evidence? Amateurs. They started the fight, but I was going to finish it. I was an evil transmigrator, stepfather. I wasn't here to coddle them. The kids, now terrified, spent the next hour blowing up Serafina's phone, but against the photographic evidence, Their explanations were weak. Eventually, annoyed, Serafina blocked their numbers. In desperation, they called their grandparents. The elderly couple arrived, saw the kids were perfectly unharmed, received a text from Serafina, gave me a stern warning, and then handed me a check for another $100,000 for the children's care before rushing off. I was now up 200 grand. Combined with my savings, I was closing in on $1 million. 10 million in 3 months didn't seem so impossible anymore. My plan to simply antagonize them was now upgraded. I would systematically drain them of their cash. For that kind of money, I could forgive them for tattling. I decided to start with Jade. I found her at her desk, supposedly doing homework, with a fluffy white cat, Machi, walking across her textbook. Machi, which one is it? Jade whispered. Meow. The cat's paw landed decisively on option C. It was the right answer. Is that cat a genius? I muttered aloud, making a mental note to figure out how to take Machi with me when I skipped town. Jade jumped when she saw me, her body tensing. What? What do you want? What do you think? I'm here to supervise your homework, and also, I'll Venmo you $1,000. Just don't tickle me, she blurted out, already reaching for her phone. I accepted the payment with a satisfied smile, but I didn't leave. I just stood there, watching her. Jade looked at me, confused. I already paid you. Why are you still here? A grin spread across my face. Need a ghostwriter? $300 per assignment. $500 for the month. $100 tops. Take it or leave it, she shot back, a flash of her business-savvy future self showing through. We settled on $3,000 a month. Jade, thrilled, skipped off to hang out with her friends. I finished her third-grade homework in under 10 minutes. Then I pulled her in for a quick selfie and sent it to her mother with the caption, "Productive study session." Serafina's reply was instant. Good work. Another $10,000 hit my account. I was still counting my money when the phone rang. It was the after-school tutoring center. Mr. Vance? This is about Jade Sterling. She was in a fight at school. The other child was injured and has been taken to the hospital. You need to come down here immediately. A fight? Hospitalization? That sounded like Jade, but it wasn't in the novel script. I pushed the thought aside and had the driver take me to the academy. When I arrived, I could hear a teacher shouting at Jade. Jade, it's bad enough your grades are in the toilet, but now you're starting fights? What are your parents teaching you? They spent a fortune just so you can come here and act like a thug. Jade, for once, looked less like a queen bee and more like a scolded puppy. They started it with Maya, she mumbled. They were picking on her. I just hit them a little hard. A little hard? It was you against a dozen of them. The picture was clear now, and I was furious. Serafina was dropping millions a year on these tutoring programs for the kids, and this is how they treated them? Unforgivable. The teacher turned to me, pointing a finger at Jade. Mr. Vance, take your daughter home. We can't teach her here. Serafina's goal was for the kids to get into a top university, to be like her childhood sweetheart, who was some kind of academic. Their entire childhood was a schedule of endless tutoring. This teacher's game was obvious. Shame the rich parents into paying for more private, one-on-one sessions. I let out a cold laugh. The teacher's plan was good, but she'd picked the wrong target. I pulled Jade over, checked her for injuries, a few scrapes on her face, and then said loudly, "Good job. It's important to stand up for the weak." Then I turned to the teacher. Since you feel your school is unable to teach Jade, I'd like a refund for the remaining sessions this year. I pulled out my phone's calculator. Let's see. One class is $200. 3 classes a week is $600. There are 102 sessions left. That comes to a grand total of $61,200. I held up my phone, showing her my Venmo QR code. Cash or digital? Digital is faster. The teacher's face turned purple. You're just a kept man living off her money. Ms. Sterling holds the purse strings. I glanced at Jade. So, she'd been spilling the family secrets at school. I'd deal with that later. For now, I wasn't about to let this slide. I dialed the director of the academy. A portly man bustled in moments later. The teacher gave him an exaggerated, one-sided version of the story. The director's face soured as he prepared to lecture me. I cut him off. You're the director? Good. I want a refund for all 3 of my children, Jade, Dylan, and Cody. Seeing my hardline stance, the director's tone changed instantly. He turned and berated the teacher before bowing apologetically to me. Mr. Vance, please, how about this? I'll give you a 20% discount on all future tutoring. We're the best prep academy in the area. Save it, I said with a wave of my hand. You either refund the money now, or my next call is to the police. I wasn't going to let my kids, the kids I was paid to look after, get bullied by anyone but me. Defeated, the director scolded the teacher again and processed the refund. He added that if we ever reconsidered, They would hire the best tutors just for us. As the teacher and director turned to leave, my driver, who had been waiting by the door, blocked their path. I looked at the teacher. Did I say you could go? She laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. What? You've changed your mind. Too late for that. I held up my phone. Oh, I haven't changed my mind. But I think you're about to regret yours, I said calmly. I recorded our entire conversation. Apologize to Jade right now, or this video goes viral. The teacher's eyes blazed, but under the crushing pressure of the director's glare, she forced out the words. I'm sorry. I looked at Jade. She gave a slight nod. I immediately grabbed her hand and headed for the hospital. On the way to the hospital, Jade gave me the full story. I was speechless. She fought a dozen kids and still managed to get herself scraped up. What kind of incompetent queen bee was she? Dad, she said softly, if we all quit tutoring, aren't you afraid Mom will get mad and hate you? Hearing her call me Dad made my heart do a little flip. For a second, I was back in my old life, my own daughter riding on my shoulders, laughing and shouting Daddy. The lines between reality and this fictional world blurred. Don't forget the 10 million, the system's voice crackled in my head, a cold splash of water. I looked at Jade, forcing a scowl. Weren't you calling me Leo just yesterday? Sounded fine then. Don't call me Dad again, or I'll send you right back to that academy. I threatened. Jade's tough girl facade crumbled, her face turning red with shame. But, are you really not scared Mom will be angry? She only sends us to tutoring to boost our grades, to show off to her childhood sweetheart. It was true. To stay in Serafina's good graces, I had followed her instructions to the letter. Since they'd started, the kids hadn't missed a single session. Now, with all this free time, Jade seemed a little lost. But hey, I wasn't complaining. I was over 60 grand richer. I feigned a stern voice. Of course she'll be angry. Unless you pay me off. I winked. Now my leg hurts. Carry me. For the money, I could play along. The driver, catching my eye in the rearview mirror, smiled. He hadn't seen Miss Jade this happy in years. At the clinic, the doctor confirmed Jade's injuries were minor. A little antiseptic cream, and she was good to go. Before we left, we visited Maya and another girl who'd been injured in the brawl. I covered their medical bills. Their injuries were also minor, and it turned out the fight had turned them into fast friends. Jade joined their conversation, and before long, the three of them had formed some kind of fighting sisterhood. I listened to them debating who they should beat up next, and felt a headache coming on. Since Jade was out of tutoring, I decided she needed a new project. She liked to fight? Fine. I'd hire her a martial arts coach, an MMA trainer, specifically. It was surprisingly cheap. When I told her, her face fell. But I wasn't done. It would be a waste of her long legs to only learn how to fight. So I hired her an acting coach too. Dad, you might as well just kill me now, Jade wailed, slumping against my back and drumming her little fists on my shoulders. Oh, stop being so dramatic. I patted her cheek. Don't worry. I'll make Dylan and Cody do it with you. Jade's eyes instantly lit up. If she had to suffer, at least she wouldn't suffer alone. After the fight, she'd realized she needed to be stronger. Soon, she'd be the undisputed ruler of her school, the baddest kid on the block. No one would dare mess with her again. I had just gotten home with Jade when I found Dylan and Cody sitting on the living room sofa under a cloud of gloom. Jade immediately saw that Dylan had been crying. She marched over and grabbed him by the collar. Dylan, tell me who bullied you. We'll go sort them out right now. Dylan buried his face in his sister's shirt and sobbed. They said my poems were awful. They said they were like dog poop. I had to suppress a laugh. I remembered from the book that the second son had zero artistic or musical talent. But, encouraged by Serafina, he'd taken up poetry and music. His singing voice was described as worse than a dog's bark. Jade shot me a look, also fighting a smile. After a moment, she patted his back. Okay, Dylan, read us the poem. Let us be the judge before we go beat them up. Dylan sniffled, stood up straight, and began to recite, gesturing dramatically with his hands. I see a big rock from afar. Up close, the rock is big. The rock is truly large. It is a very large rock. I couldn't hold it in any longer. A snort of laughter escaped me. That set off Jade and Cody, who dissolved into giggles. Dylan's face turned crimson with rage. He launched himself at me, fists flailing. You jerk. Even you're making fun of me. Just you wait. When you're old and on a ventilator, I'm going to pull the plug. The nerve. Threatening my life support. Jade quickly jumped in, assuring me he was just angry and didn't mean it. I was just teasing him. What's the big deal? Go ahead, hit me if you can. I taunted. You asked for it. I've never seen someone so eager for a beatdown. I needed to establish my authority. I couldn't have a middle child walking all over me. It would be embarrassing for the system. After a 30-minute educational talk that consisted of me lecturing him while he sat in timeout, Dylan's tears stopped. He actually seemed more relaxed. All right, time for the carrot after the stick. I took him along with Jade, Cody, and 4 of the household bodyguards down to the Young Poets Society he attended. The teacher, a nervous-looking man, saw our entourage and went pale. Mr. Vance, I was just about to call you. Dylan ran out of class in the middle of our workshop. He explained hastily. You're just in time. Please talk to him. No one was laughing at him. We were just offering constructive criticism. I slammed my hand on his desk. So you're saying this is my son's fault? If this is how you educate children, then I think we're done with this poetry class. We want a full refund. The teacher paled. He rushed over, tried to smooth things over. Mr. Vance, it's all a misunderstanding. I'll have the children apologize to him right now. Under the teacher's stern gaze, all the kids who had snickered at Dylan's poem lined up to say they were sorry. But I, the villainous stepfather, wasn't done. I made each child recite their own poem. The first kid read, "My dad saw my grades, so mad. He pulled out his belt. Now I'm sad." I roll my eyes. What is this garbage? Compared to Dylan's work, this is trash. My son's poem shows keen observation of the world around him. It brings joy. Your poem sounds like a cry for help to Child Protective Services. One by one, I tore apart every kid's poem. By the end, Dylan was hiding his face, bright red with embarrassment. I pulled him over to the teacher, held out my hand, and said one word: refund. The teacher sighed. Flanked by 4 stone-faced bodyguards, he reluctantly processed the payment. Another few thousand in my pocket. As we walked away, I heard the teacher mutter under his breath, "What an absolute asshole." On the way home, Dylan's eyes were shining. He realized he didn't hate this stepfather of his as much as he thought. He finally understood his sister's recent change in attitude. She used to be the one leading the charge against me. Buckets of ice water balanced on my door, rubber snakes in my bed, blaming me for breaking priceless vases. He'd taken a fall for so much. "Dad, I'm sorry," Dylan mumbled, the words tumbling out before he could stop them. I gave him a puzzled look and felt his forehead. "You're not running a fever, are you? You're talking nonsense today." The flicker of gratitude in his eyes vanished, replaced by his usual scowl. "Forget I said anything." I grinned and held up my phone. "Too late. Got on video. Leo." "Dad, do you think maybe I'm not cut out to be a poet?" he asked, his voice small. I nodded decisively. "Don't waste your time. You don't have it in you. You." He spun around and stormed off. "Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are." I hummed cheerfully as I followed him, feeling fantastic. "Hate me. The more you hate me, the more you'll love the real hero when he shows up." Jade suddenly stopped. "What was that song you were just humming? You want to learn it?" "It's for babies," she scoffed. "Exactly. Perfect. I'll teach you when we get home," I said, grabbing her hand. Jade tried to hide her excitement. She was starting to figure me out. If she acted like she hated something, I'd make her do it. From now on, she decided she would do the opposite of what I wanted. I contacted Serafina's personal songwriter, a woman in her 30s who looked at me with open disdain. The villain label preceded me everywhere. I ignored her and scribbled down the lyrics to a few classic children's songs, asking her to compose the music. The process was slow. Frustrated, I just sang to myself. Her eyes lit up. Each one was a potential hit, a timeless classic. I smirked internally. Using the family's own staff was free. A huge savings. I handed Jade over to the composer to start her singing lessons. My work done, I was about to retreat to my room for a well-deserved nap when I heard a blood-curdling howl from the next room. "Oh, poetry, my only love," Dylan was wailing. "With my poems, I will rove to faraway lands with mountains and streams," and his voice was cut off by a shriek. "What are you guys doing? What does it look like?" I said, walking into his room. "It's late. You're disturbing the peace. Time for your lesson." "You've gone too far," Jade declared, but with a twinkle in her eye. "Big sis is right," Cody added. Dylan, about to burst into tears, was ambushed. The 3 of us threw duvet over him and tickled him mercilessly. "I'm sorry. I'll never do it again. Please, let me go," he squealed. I pulled him out by his ear and handed him to Jade. "Take him with you to your singing lesson." After Jade and Dylan left, I noticed Cody was still standing there. "Cody, what's up? Why aren't you in bed?" For the first time, Cody looked at me with real determination. "Dad, I want you to tell me a story. The one about the superhero who fights for justice." I remembered then. A few days ago, I'd started telling him a simplified version of Batman's origin story in exchange for his allowance. He'd paid me for a whole month up front. $9,000 of his $10,000 allowance had gone straight into my pocket. Hearing him call me Dad was satisfying, but I stuck to the script. "Don't call me Dad. Your real father is still in Europe. Now come on, A few days later, Jade and Dylan started showing up to Cody's bedtime stories, trying to listen for free. I wasn't running a charity. I promptly called their martial arts instructor and doubled their training sessions. Nobody gets a free ride from me. My peace was short-lived. About 2 weeks later, I got another call from the school. This time it was about Cody. I was confused. Cody was the quiet one. How could he possibly be in trouble? When I arrived at the school, I was met with a shocking scene. A large circle of students surrounded Cody. He was in the middle, animatedly telling a story, while one of his friends collected money from the audience. The story he was telling? The very same superhero saga I'd been spinning for him at night. A makeshift sign was propped up nearby. $1 PER listening. There must have been 100 kids there. $100. Not bad. The kid was a natural-born entrepreneur. His teacher found me quickly. Mr. Vance, Cody's stories are a huge hit with the students. But him charging for it is becoming an issue. I heard the stories originally came from you. She leaned in conspiratorially. I was thinking we could collaborate on a book. The school could help publish it, and the students could buy it from the bookstore. I considered it. It made sense. The story wasn't mine, of course, but I was just borrowing it. We could publish it under the original creator's name. I'd just be the middleman, taking a small fee for my troubles. After some negotiation, we settled on a 60-40 split of the profits. I would provide the manuscript. The school and the publisher would handle the rest. After I settled the deal with the teacher, Cody finished his performance and ran over to me, his face glowing. Dad, I think I know what I want to do. I love stories. I want to be a writer. I rolled my eyes. You like it? Great. But you're not there yet, kid. Cody's face fell, but he clenched his fists, a look of defiance in his eyes. I ignored him and turned back to the teacher. Ma'am, Cody has always been a bit passive. It would be great if you could give him some more responsibility. The teacher, though slightly annoyed by my tone, had just made a deal with me and couldn't refuse. Of course, she said, then turned to Cody. Cody, our class president, Lucas, is out sick for a while. You'll be taking over his duties until he returns. Cody looked horrified and was about to refuse, but I put a hand on his shoulder and bowed slightly to the teacher. Cody, what are you waiting for? Thank your teacher. This is a wonderful opportunity she fought to get for you. You have to cherish it. He tugged on my sleeve, but I pretended not to notice and accepted on his behalf. He'll hate me for this, I thought. Perfect for my mission. The thought of my $10 million filled me with renewed energy. Seeing that the deal was done, Cody gave a weak nod, a rare blush creeping onto his cheeks. I treated him to a celebratory feast at his favorite burger joint on the way home. When Jade and Dylan found out, they were furious. I'd always told them fast food was unhealthy. They gave Cody a good-natured pummeling out of jealousy, but I just let them be. Life fell into a rigorous new routine. Monday to Friday, after school, all three had an hour of MMA training. Then, Jade and Dylan went to their singing lessons with the composer, while Cody was assigned extra reading. Their days were packed, and my life was, for a moment, blissfully quiet. The good times didn't last. Serafina called. She wanted to check the children's academic progress. I was prepared, deploying all 36 of my time-tested delay tactics, but this only made her more suspicious. You have 1 day to prepare. All 4 of you will be taking a test tomorrow. Serafina, hold on. The 3 of them taking a test makes sense, but why are you including me? My God, I was less than a month away from my grand escape. Where's she playing at? I was her husband in name only. She'd never once acknowledged me publicly, and her heart was still set on her childhood sweetheart in Europe. She was only using this sham marriage to keep me from interfering with her real love life. Her next words sent a chill down my spine. If any one of you fails this test, I'm taking everything back. I instinctively patted the pocket where my wallet was, my bank cards nestled inside. My tone immediately shifted to one of pure sycophancy. Of course, no problem at all. We guarantee we'll pass your test. I paused. But they're only in 3rd grade, you know? It's a time for play. Maybe make the test a little on the easier side. She agreed to this reasonable request and said the test would be tomorrow, Saturday. The 3 kids saw my gloomy face and gathered around. When I told them about their mother's pop quiz, their faces crumpled. Mom's being so extra. She's only been gone for a few months. Why a test now? Jade grumbled. Maybe we should just run away, Dylan suggested. Big bro is right. Cody agreed. The 3 of them turned to make a break for it, but I snatched 2 of them by their collars. Cody, seeing his siblings caught, sheepishly returned. I puffed out my chest and made them a promise. I don't care what methods you use. Cheating, bribery, whatever. As long as you all pass this test, I will grant each of you 1 wish. That stopped them. They looked at me, disbelieving but tempted. Cody was the first to cave, then Dylan, and finally Jade. All right, let's go prepare for tomorrow's exam. Let's do this. For hands met in the middle. We had formed a temporary, desperate alliance. The next day, Maria brought out the sealed test papers. We each went to our separate rooms to take the exam. I looked at my test, and my mind went blank. Was Serafina insane? The questions were bizarre. 1. What is my favorite color? 2. What is my favorite article of clothing? 3. What is our wedding anniversary? A wave of panic washed over me. Did she suspect me? We'd never even met face to face in this life. Why would she ask me, the villain of the story, these questions? Unless someone in the house was a spy. Right now, though, I just had to answer. I had no doubt Serafina would follow through on her threat. That was the power of capital. My first thought was to bribe Maria for the answers, but she informed me that Serafina had installed new micro cameras everywhere to prevent cheating. The thought of her watching me from across the ocean made my skin crawl. I turned to the system for help, but it informed me that interfering with this test would use up my one and only emergency assist. I couldn't waste it. It was all down to guesswork. I had to get 6 out of 10 right. A 60% chance. The first question wasn't too hard. Her public persona was all dark, edgy pop star. The answer had to be black. The second question was similar. I wrote down wedding dress. It was a sentimental, cheesy answer, but it felt right. The third question, I genuinely had no idea. But I checked the calendar on my phone. The date was marked. No problem there. In less than half an hour, I had answered all 10 questions. I spent another 30 minutes reviewing them, then handed the paper to Maria to be scanned and sent. As she took it, her face turned a deep shade of red. I didn't have to wait long. A text from Serafina appeared on my phone. It contained a single word, passed. A huge grin spread across my face. I gave myself a mental high five for my cleverness. Half an hour later, I received the kids' results. All passed. That was a bit suspicious. When I got to look at their test papers, I realized why. Their questions were laughably easy, nothing like the minefield I had to navigate. The 3 kids were ecstatic. They demanded a celebratory feast. I thought about it for a second and agreed. I took them to a 5-star hotel on Rodeo Drive, the kind with Michelin-starred restaurants, rooftop pools, and a view of the entire city. After a decadent meal, the kids ran off to explore the hotel's massive indoor playground. I leaned back in my chair, contemplating my future. Should I take the $10 million, or should I go back to my old world? My peaceful musing was shattered when one of the bodyguards ran up to me, panicked. The children were gone. My blood ran cold. If I lost them, Serafina would literally kill me. I was about to call the police when my phone rang. It was an unknown number. Leo Vance. If you want to see the kids again, don't call the cops. I'm watching you. The voice was electronically distorted. I'll text you an address. Come alone. I immediately summoned the system. It appeared, and when it grasped the situation, it was even more frantic than I was. System scan initiated. Searching for life signs. Locating targets now. Holy crap. The system was powerful. An image appeared in my mind. The 3 kids, tied up in a dusty warehouse. A surge of protective anger, surprisingly real, shot through me. I told the system to call 911 anonymously while I floored it to the warehouse address. The moment I stepped through the door, 2 men tackled me. I was disarmed, bound, and thrown on the floor next to the kids. I looked at our 4 captors, all dressed in black. They didn't look like locals. Just then, the warehouse doors creaked open, and a figure stepped out of the blinding sunlight. My jaw dropped. It was the novel's male lead, Julian Croft. Host, the plot has gone off the rails. The system shrieked in my head. I shot at a mental glare. According to the book, Julian is supposed to be in Europe. If he's back, does that mean Serafina is back too? It's possible, the system replied sheepishly. Julian walked over, his handsome face contorted with rage. Leo, all you want is money, right? I can give you money. Why do you have to pull all these stunts? Do you have any idea what you've done? Because of you, Serafina is threatening to break up with me. His voice rose to a shout. You have to die. Only when you're dead will she love me again. This was an awkward situation. All my hard work, completely backfiring. This could not stand. Julian, calm down. Let's talk about this. I can leave right now. Okay. I pleaded. Just let the kids go, and I'll disappear. I'll never see Serafina again. I promise. My words had the opposite effect on the kids. Dad, we'll die with you. Jade yelled, struggling against her ropes. Yeah, together. I'm not scared to die. Dylan shouted. Big sis and big bro are right. Cody chimed in. Julian's face turned a dangerous shade of purple. You see? Even they're on your side. Do you really think I can let you live now? My heart hammered in my chest. But then I remembered I had the system. What was I afraid of? I let loose a torrent of insults. You coward. You couldn't win her over back then, and you're still losing to me now. I gave you so many chances, and you blew every single one. If you'd just been more assertive, maybe you wouldn't still be stuck in the friend zone." Julian, enraged, started shouting back. As he was getting worked up, distracted by our screaming match, the warehouse doors burst open. The LAPD swarmed in, tackling the kidnappers. After a brief statement to the police, I drove home like a bat out of hell, my only thought to grab my suitcase and run. I ran straight into Serafina. She was standing in the foyer, arms crossed. She had the security guards open my luggage. Inside, gleaming under the chandelier, were several priceless antiques I'd planned upon. Each was worth millions. Serafina's face went black. The guards emptied my pockets, confiscated my cards, and threw me out of the mansion. The system declared my mission a failure. I was broke. I had nothing. But just as I hit the pavement, 3 small figures blocked the doorway. Jade stood protectively in front of me. "Dad, you go. I'll hold her off." Dylan nodded fiercely. "We don't want our real dad. Jade, you stop her. I'll go get the safe." Cody looked from his siblings to me. "Big sis and big bro are right. Do we still meet under the old oak tree?" Serafina stared at me, then at her children, and let out a long, weary sigh. "Fine. You can stay. It seems your actual son and daughter want you here." I looked at the system. The system looked back at me. We were both completely speechless. This villainous supporting character was stronger than I thought.